In this video, we're going to talk about multiplying and dividing decimals. Okay, so we're going to talk about what the algorithm is, what the rule is for multiplying, and then we're also going to talk about why that's the rule. So, and same thing for dividing. So, for example, if I had the decimal 2 and 1300ths, and I wanted to multiply that by 400ths. So, if you think through what the process here, so we're going to go over how and why. So the how here, if you remember, you just put your decimals, or put your two numbers, 2.13 and then 0.04. And if you remember, your decimals don't have to line up here. They just happen to in this case, but they don't always have to line up. And you just kind of ignore the decimals, and then you just put them in at the end. So like the process for the how is multiply like normal numbers. So multiply like normal numbers, and then at the end you count your decimal places and include in your answer. So in this case, I just multiply this like 213 times 4 because I don't really care about the zeros in front of the 4. I don't really care about the decimals. So in this case, it would just be doing 213 times 4, which I would do 3 times 4 is 12, carry the 1. 1 times 4 is 4, 4 plus 1 is 5, 2 times 4 is 8, so 852. And then at the end, count your decimal places. So in this problem, I have 1, 2, 3, 4 decimal places. So 4 decimal places that I need to put in my answer. So 4 decimal places would be 1, 2, 3, 4. So my answer for this, 2.13 times 0.04, or 2 and 1300ths times 400ths, is actually 0.0852, which is 852 10,000ths. So that's the how to do it. This is something that hopefully this refreshed your memory if you didn't remember, but that's how you multiply decimals. So now let's go over the why. So why in the world can I just multiply 213 times 4 and then stick 4 decimal places in there and get my answer? Well, the reason why is because if I switch these over to fractions, it makes a little more sense. So let's change to fractions. So change to fractions. So 2.13, when I put that as a fraction, that is 2 and 1300ths, which I could then make into an improper fraction, which would be 213 hundredths, because 2 times 100 is 200, 200 plus 13 is 213 hundredths. And then my other one, 0.04, that is just 4 hundredths. So if I'm doing 2.13, 2 and 1300ths times 4 hundredths, that would just be like doing 213 over 100 times 4 over 100. Well, if you remember the way we multiply fractions, you multiply across the top, multiply across the bottom. So this would be 213 times 4 over 100 times 100, which is 10,000. So right here explains why I can just do 213 times 4, because isn't that just 213 times 4? Yeah, that's the whole multiply like normal numbers idea. And then this dividing by 10,000, if you divide something by 10,000, that puts it in the 10,000th place, which is 4 decimal places. So that's the whole 4 decimal places idea. So I hope that kind of explains why you can just multiply 213 times 4 and then put 4 decimal places. And you can see pretty easily when you look at it in the fractions of the reason why I can do that. Okay, so that's multiplication. For dividing, it's kind of the same idea. When you put it in fractions, it makes a little more sense of why that's the rule. But let's go over that. So for dividing decimals, let's start off with the problem. 1/75 divided by 2500. Okay, so when you're dividing decimals, you would write the 0.25, the 2500s on the outside, and then you would divide it into 1/75. And the rule here, you need to make the outside number into a whole number. Okay, so the rule is, for this, the how, this is the how part that we're talking about. You move the decimal place. So you move the decimal place of both numbers. In this case, we move it 2 places to the right. And we did that so that we're dividing by a whole number. So that we are dividing by a whole number. Okay, so when I move the two decimal places over, the number on the outside becomes 25, and the number on the inside becomes 175. So basically, I'm changing my problem into 175 divided by 25 by moving those 2 decimal places. Okay, so in a minute, we'll explain why this is the same as that. Okay, let's just go over, finish going over how to divide it. So you say, can 20, so first of all, you move the decimal place up right here. Can 25 go into 1? No. Can 25 go into 17? No. Can 25 go into 175? Well, yeah, it can go in 7 times. And 7 times 25 is 175 with nothing left over. Okay, so that's how you divide it. You move both your decimal places. Since the outside needed to move 2 times to become a whole number, the inside had to move 2 times also, and then you divide it like normal numbers. So 175 divided by 25. Okay, so let's talk about the y. So y in the world is 1.75 divided by 0.25. Why is that exactly the same as 175 divided by 25? That's the question we're trying to answer. So let's convert them over to fractions. 1.75 as a fraction is 1/75, which I can make that as an improper fraction as 175 over 100. For 2500ths, the fraction is 25 over 100. So 175 over 100 divided by 25 over 100. Remember, dividing fractions, if they have a common denominator, you can just divide across the top, divide across the bottom. So this becomes 175 divided by 25. And then what's 100 divided by 100? It's just 1. So that's why, like this right here is the decimal 1.75 divided by 0.25. And it turned out to be just 175 divided by 25. Okay, because when I divide the denominators, I just get 1 on bottom. So they're actually equal statements. Okay, so I hope that helps kind of remind you of the algorithm for multiplying and dividing decimals, and then also helps you kind of understand why I can do that.